شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بهديه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, tonight's class is going to be on the chapter of الرقاق من صحيح Al-Bukhari, the chapter of Heart Softening Narrations from the illustrious work of Imam Al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala. And before we get started, we say Kitab Al-Raqaq is chapter number 81. It's the 81st chapter inside Bukhari, and it's from those later chapters and the last few volumes of Sahih Al-Bukhari. And he says Al-Raqaq, and some of the people of knowledge say Al-Raqa'iq. No big difference between the two ways of spelling and saying the word. And what's meant by al-raqa'iq or al-riqaq is to soften and to melt one's heart.
What's that?
To make one's heart raqiq
What was that?
and not ghalib or qasi.
What?
So therefore, the people of knowledge of hadith we're speaking on, of course, when we say people of knowledge from hadith, the scholars who specialize in hadith, when they wrote their books, they had different types of books that they wrote with different purposes, with different objectives, different reasons behind writing books. Some of the people of knowledge of hadith, they wrote books only on genuine narrations. Others wrote books on totally weak, fabricated narrations. And some wrote books in which they mentioned both genuine and those which were considered to be weak, whether the meanings were correct or not, whether they were used or not, etc. And some of the people of knowledge, there was a way in which they organized the book. They collected the hadiths and they put them together and they arranged them and they organized them in a certain way. And from those books is that which is called al-jawami' or as-sunan. There's a type of book of hadith in which the author takes the main aspects of life, if not all of them, and he arranged this book accordingly. So you have hadiths on faith, on iman, what you should believe in, what is supposed to be your creed, your dogma, what you believe in, what you accept and embrace with your heart, and how it manifests itself upon your limbs. And then there are chapters on the lawful and the unlawful, the halal and the haram, what to do when you pray, when to pray, when not to pray. What do you say in your prayers? What direction do you face? When is it times in which it's unlawful to pray or disliked? You want to get married. What is the woman that you can and cannot marry? If it's permissible for a man to have more than one wife, can a man marry a woman and also marry that woman's aunt, paternal or maternal? Can you be married to them at the same time? This is a woman. She's not your sister. She's not your mother. She isn't your aunt. She isn't none of the women that is unlawful for a man to marry. And now he wishes to marry a second wife, another woman. But that second woman that he wants to marry, let's say hypothetically, is the first wife's what? Aunt. Is that permissible or impermissible? When a man dies or a woman dies and there's money, there's wealth, there's property that's left behind, who does the property go to? Who deserves what and why? And the list goes on of halal and haram, ahkam, regulations. Because he just came into the masjid and he sat down. He didn't pray. He didn't make 2 rak'ah. Is that permissible or is that impermissible? The sun is setting. Maghrib is coming in. The list goes on. Rulings of what? The ahkam. Everybody understand this? And then the hadith on tafsir that explain the Quran, give interpretation of the Quran. This verse was sent down for this reason. During this battle, this question was asked. This campaign came forth. This woman asked. And Allah sent down Quran. And then we have a hadith or a class of a hadith that pertains to the Prophet's battles. When he fought, when he and his noble companions went out for Allah's cause, called Al-Jihadu was-Siyab or Al-Ghazwa was-Siyab. The Prophet's battles, his military expeditions, the enemies that they fought, when they won, when they didn't win, when there was a peace treaty, when there was a pact. And then we have a hadith that deal with dream interpretation, because that's an aspect of life. And the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is comprehensive, total, and thorough for everything that can and does happen in a person's life. So you sleep, you go to sleep, you see things. What is the interpretation of those things that you see? Everybody understand this? And from those types of main aspects of life that we find in the Sahih books or the Sunan books is that which is called Kitab Al-Raqaaq, the chapter of Heart Softening Narrations. In other words, it's insufficient for you to just learn what to do and what not to do. It's insufficient for you to learn about just what you believe in your iman and tawheed and aqidah. It's insufficient for you to just read about the Prophet's jihad and his battles. But you also, as a Muslim, have to give a great deal of importance to your heart, to softening your heart, to keeping your heart soft. Because sins, heedlessness, forgetfulness, the dunya, your food, your drink, your wife, your children, your husband, the things that you do on a daily basis, they cause you to forget. They cause you to become heedless, and they cause your heart to become a little what? Hard. So the people of Hadith, they lived and they practiced Islam thoroughly and totally. They lived and they practiced Islam what? Thoroughly and totally. From the time that you wake up until you go to sleep, even what you do in your sleep, they follow Muhammad's way. Sleeping on the right side, you have a bad dream, a nightmare, do you tell someone about it? Do you spit on your left? Do you recite the Quran? Is it permissible to sleep on your belly? When you wake up, what do? Do you brush your teeth? And the list goes on. Salah, Fajr, sin and masjid, selling, buying, marriage, divorce, janazah, aqiqah. Islam, the Sunnah deals with every aspect of life. There is a practice of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when a child is born and when a man what? Dies. So from Islam, from the deen is what? As we said before, spirituality. Is what? Spirituality. And this is why these great ulama of hadith, they put this chapter in their books. And some of them, they gave it the title of Az-Zuhd. Kitab Az-Zuhd. The book of Zuhd. Which means to do away with that which is unnecessary from the worldly life. To do away with that which is unnecessary. Not that which is necessary, but that which is what? Unnecessary. And for a person to try his and her best to have the least involvement with the worldly pleasures. Try your best to have the least involvement in the worldly pleasures of food, of drink, of clothes, of jewelry, of vehicles, ways of riding, and the list goes on. You have to have a car in most cities. Some cities you don't have the car. Some cities you don't need a car. You may not be advised to have a car in certain parts of New York City. A car is a liability, a huge liability. Parking. It's so crowded. Traffic. But in many places, most places, you need a what? A car. Do you have to have the most fancy car? The most expensive car? The car which is totally unnecessary, or basic, simple, strong car to get you from your basic point A and point B. Everybody understand this? Of clothes. Allah tells us to cover ourselves, to adorn ourselves, to hide our private areas. And there's nothing wrong with having nice clothes, but do you need 1,000 pairs of shirts? Or 1,000 shirts, 1,000 pair of pants? The most expensive, the most detailed, and then this goes on. So some of the ulama, they call it a zuhd, and others they call it a riqaq. And it has a similar or basic, synonymous meaning. It's for you to soften your heart and to realize that the worldly life is short and quick. It's brief. And it is not your eternal abode of dwelling. And if you know that, and if you realize that, then why do you stack up and amass as if it is? Everybody understand this? You go on a trip. You don't take things that a resident has on his trip. That's why they call it a travel pack. A travel bag. You have a small deodorant, small toothbrush, small toothpaste, small mouthwash, small fingernail clipper, toenail clipper, mustache trimmer, small, miniature. Because it's only a trip. It's 1, 2, 3, and then you're back home. So the foolish person is the one that's going to bring a big, large dresser in the airplane. So just think how stupid that would look if you went to the airport like that. If you travel to the airport with a bed and a mattress. If you travel to the airport with your entire wardrobe. If you travel to the airport with pots and pans and cups and tumblers and bowls. If you brought a big, huge thing of oil sheen and hairspray to the airport, they would look at you as a fool. Is this not the case? Is this not the case, or it is? So what is the case about your deen? You know the dunya, according to what you say that you believe that the dunya is temporary and then hereafter is the real life, yet still I stock up and I pile up so many things that I don't need. Everybody understand that? Is that not more foolish? We clear this or not? Just think about if you just stop and think about the laughing stock you'll be in that line in the airport, carrying all of that stuff. They said, what are you going? Well, I'm going for a day and I'll be back the next day or for a week. Why do you need all this? Everybody understand this? Either the person doesn't actually intend to stay for a week, or the person something wrong with his mind. And the same applies to your religion. We say that the dunya is temporary, however, everybody understand this? So this is why the ulama of hadith, they wanted to combat this. And this is a part of the religion. And we said this several times, is that everything that you could want and need is found in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Everything. From economics, finance, how to fight, how to be a warrior, tough guy, how to be a smooth guy, dress nice, smell good, clean your teeth, keep your hair. It's all in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Those who have a bling, tough guys that are nice, pretty boys. Those who wish to pray all night, fast, read, seek knowledge. Women who wish to adorn themselves, whatever you can think about is in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. However, we as people don't read those hadiths, or oftentimes we read them without the proper understanding, without the proper explanation, or many times we go into the hadiths with pre-assumptions. What it's supposed to mean, what's supposed to say, how it's supposed to be. And this is why we only come out with limited benefit from these books. Everybody clear on this? So when you read Sahih Muslim, you read the Jami' of Imam At-Tirmidhi, the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, you read these major books of hadith, you're going to find chapters and hadiths on heart-melting narrations. To what? To soften the heart. And if a person's da'wah is not based off of this balance, something's wrong with his da'wah. But no matter what you're focusing on, many Muslims today, if not most of the groups of the Muslims, and we're not discriminating against any group, the groups of the Muslims, those who say they're the Muslims today, most of them, 9 out of 10, they only focus on one aspect of the religion. That is the most important thing, and that's it. And everything else from the religion gets put on the back burner or is a footnote, it's a sideshow. Some Muslims, they only deal with economics and finance. That's it. That's Islam. Building, having money, having political power. That's Islam. Some Muslims, they only deal with what? Aqidah. That's it. What is Aqidah? That's it. Bid'ah, innovations. Nothing else is the deen. Nothing else is important, nothing else is substantial. Some Muslims, they only deal with jihad, fighting. That's the only thing from the deen of Muhammad ﷺ is jihad. Some Muslims only deal with politics. We need lawyers, we need this, we need politicians, governors, man. That's Islam, and nothing else is Islam. And some Muslims, they only deal with spirituality, zuhd, divorcing the dunya. Stay away from the dunya. Don't be with the dunya. Have a soft heart, and that's the deen, and nothing else is the deen. And the list goes on of group, sect, schism, and party. Is this not the case? 9 out of 10, especially in the city of Philadelphia. Especially in the city of Philadelphia. Most Muslims don't practice Islam thoroughly and totally. Except for the few people that Allah shows their mercy. So the scholars of Hadith, that's not how they wrote their books. They talk about everything from Tawheed and Aqidah all the way to the grave. Thereafter, things that soften and melt the what? The heart. Everybody understand this? And it's very important in the month of Ramadan for you to look after your heart. Things that make your heart hard, of disobedience of Rahman, of heedlessness and forgetfulness, of pleasures and enjoying things that you enjoy in the dunya, let alone the just basic 9 to 5 responsibilities that you have to do to take away from Allah's dhikr. Everybody clear on this? So this is why we chose this chapter from this book in this month. Khayr inshallah. Imam Al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Kitab Al-Raqaq, باب ما جاء في الرقاق وأن لا عيش إلا عيش الآخرة. حدثنا المكي بن إبراهيم قال أخبرنا عبد الله بن سعيد وهو بن أبي هند عن أبيه عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. وقال عباس العنبري حدثنا صفوان بن عيسى عن عبد الله بن سعيد بن أبي هند عن أبيه قال سمعت ابن عباس عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مثله. حدثنا محمد بن بشار قال حدثنا غندر قال حدثنا شعبة عن معاوية بن قرة عن أنس عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال اللهم لا عيش إلا عيش الآخرة فأصلح الأنصار والمهاجرة. حدثنا أحمد بن مقدام قال حدثنا الفضيل بن سليمان قال حدثنا أبو حازم قال حدثنا سهل بن سعد الساعدي قال كنا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في الخندق وهو يحفر ونحن ننقل التراب وبصر بنا فقال اللهم لا عيش إلا عيش الآخرة فاغفر للأنصار والمهاجرة. تابعه سهل بن سعد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مثله. فضل شيف فضل. The chapter heading, please.
The book of Al-Raqaq, softening of the hearts.
The book of Riqaq, Ra, Qaf, Riqaq, Alif, Qaf. Riqaq, heart softening, chapter number 81. Fadl.
The hadith that makes the heart soft and tender by affecting the emotions and feelings of the one who hears it. Chapter 1. Health and leisure. Free time for doing good deeds. There is no life worth living except the life of the hereafter.
Sorry, I'll repeat that again, please.
Health and leisure. Free time for doing good deeds. There is no life worth living except the life of the hereafter. Narrated by Ibn Abbas, the Prophet ﷺ said, there are 2 blessings which my people lose. They are health and free time.
Which many people
lose. They are health and the free time for doing good deeds.
Continue.
Narrated Anas radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ said, O Allah, there is no life worth living except the life of the hereafter. So please make righteous the Ansar and the immigrants. Narrated Saul ibn Sa'id as-Sa'idi, where the companions of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the battle of
Khandaq.
And he was digging a trench. While we were carrying the earth away, he looked at us and said, O Allah, there is no life worth living except the life of the hereafter. So please forgive the Ansar and the immigrants. Continue on chapter 2. The example of this world and the contrast with the hereafter in the statements of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
تفضل كشيف. جزاك الله خيرا. Hadith says, narrated by Ibn Abbas, نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. Inshallah, if we could all put our phones away, please. If we want to sit in the class, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. We give the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ the utmost respect that it deserves. Thank you very much. Jazakumullahu khairan. Hadith says, or the chapter says, as-sihhatu wal-faragh, health and free time. The English translation says there's no life living. That's not what it says in Arabic. It says in Arabic, وَأَنْ لَا عَيْشْ. There is no life. It doesn't say worth living. There is no life except for the afterlife, that and the hereafter. Imam Al-Bukhari rahimahullah says, Kitab Al-Raqaq, the chapter of heart softening or heart melting narrations. And then he says, Bab al-Sihha wal-Faragh, good health, free time, and that there's no life except for that and thereafter. In other words, from the things that soften your heart and touch your emotions and prick your conscience is when you sit down and you think about and you realize health and sickness. When you think about free time and having the lack of free time. When you think about the reality of this world, of this life, all of the trials and tribulations you go through, the ups and the downs, the good times and the bad times, those who are here and those who aren't here, how long you've been living, how times have changed, all of the things that took place, and you sit down and you think about it and you say to yourself, is that it's nothing compared to the hereafter. The time, the drama, the ups and the downs, the pleasures, the vices and the virtues is nothing in comparison and in light to the what? The hereafter. That is going to have some type of effect upon your heart when you realize the reality of life and the reality of death. When a man who's old, 80 years old, is considered old, 70, let alone 90, 100, and he dies and he thinks about how quick what? Life passed and how swift death comes. All of the time I wasted, all of the bad things that I did, how foolish and stupid I was, how I changed, what happened, what was given to me, what was taken away from me. And that none of it is substantial except for that which was used to harvest and to invest for the hereafter. It has to have a what? An effect upon your heart. Everybody understand this? So the first hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, Ni'matani. He says there are two blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. مَغْبُونٌ فِيهِمَا كَثِيرٌ يعني أكثر الناس. He says many people, and what's meant by many is most. Most people are losers. Most people are stupid and they're foolish regarding these two blessings. And these two blessings are not wealth, not strength, not children, one spouse, so on and so forth, not possessions. It says what? Not knowledge. It says sihha, good health, and free time. In other words, most people abuse their health by smoking cigarettes, by drinking alcohol, by drinking and eating foods that are unhealthy, detrimental to the health, destroy the health. Most people get tattoos. Most people, they fornicate, commit adultery. They do things that have an effect and a depletion upon their health. Most people don't walk and run and eat and drink properly and sleep properly. Things that preserve, maintain, and enhance one's health, let alone free time. Most people today, they say, I'm bored. I'm bored. The average person today, especially if they're young, even people that are old, they can't sit down for 10 minutes without becoming what? Bored. And this is why you have so many different apps on one's phone. Games, movies, TVs, videos, pictures. There's never no time for you to be absolutely free. Most people, they spend their free time disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. laughing and joking, making idle speech, backbiting, gossiping. It's very sad and very unfortunate. And the people of knowledge and those who attribute themselves to knowledge are not free from this as well. Many people, when they sit down, instead of reviewing and studying knowledge, they start talking about other people. Fulan, fulan, fulan. And this one and that one. It could be alright. It could be permissible. It could be correct. But you're wasting your free time. Everybody understand this? You're wasting your free time. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says most people don't truly utilize these two blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Most people. There are some who do. But they are considered the vast minority. And it's not just in Islam. How many people read books? How many people read positive, wholesome books? Everybody understand this? People that work out and eat healthy. Why do they work out and eat healthy? For what purpose? Why? Because the body deserves it? Or to do what? Show off, boast, brag, get girls, get guys, have people walk by me. This is a reality. Or some people say to live longer. For what reason? To worship God who made you and created you? Or to eat, to drink, to sleep, and have more fun? So we can go on and on and on, example after example, on how most people today do not utilize these two magnificent, great bounties and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he says in the Sharh of Sahih Al-Bukhari, قال البطال معنى الحديث أن المرء لا يكون فارغا حتى يكون مخفيا صحيح البدن فمن حصل له ذلك فليحرص على أن لا يغبن بأن يترك شكر الله على ما أنعم به عليه ومن شكره امتثال أوامره واجتناب نواهيه فمن فرط في ذلك فهو المغبون. وأشار بقوله كثير من الناس إلى أن الذي يوفق لذلك قليل. وقال ابن الجوزي قد يكون الإنسان صحيحا ولا يكون متفرغا لشغله بالمعاش وقد يكون مستغنيا ولا يكون صحيحا فإذا اجتمع فغلب عليه الكسل عن الطاعة فهو المغبون. وتمام ذلك أن الدنيا مزرعة الآخرة وفيها التجارة التي يظهر ربحها في الآخرة فمن استعمل فراغه وصحته في طاعة الله فهو المغبوط ومن استعملها في معصية الله فهو المغبون لأن الفراغ يعقبه الشغل والصحة يعقبها السقم ولو لم يكن إلا الهرم كما قيل يسر الفتى طول السلامة والبقاء فكيف ترى طول السلامة يفعل يرد الفتى بعد اعتدال وصحة ينوء إذا رام القيام ويحمل. He says here that Ibn Battal, one who explained Sahih Al-Bukhari before him, he says this hadith means, the gist of this narration is that a person cannot have free time until he has good, strong health. Until a person has good, strong health. In other words, you can have all the time in the world, but if you're weak and tired, if you're in constant pain and suffering, if you have different ailments, what good is your what? Your free time. What good is your what? Your free time. And he says here, and also the opposite is the exact same. There are those who are wealthy, those who are rich, or those who have what? They're mustaghniyan. They have free time and bad health, or bad health with what? With free time. He says, so those who have both of these bounties of Allah, both of these favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they should thank Allah azza wa jal. And from thanking Allah, the Sublime and the Exalted, is to do what He told you to do, and to avoid what He commanded you to stay away from. Those who don't do this, those who are negligent and nonchalant, He says they are maghboon. They've been cheated, they've been tricked, and they have lost. They've lost. Who tricked you? You tricked yourself. Everybody understand this? He says here, and when the Prophet ﷺ says, كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ, many people, this points out and it shows us is that those who have been given the tawfiq to have strong bodies, free time, good lawful wealth to spend it and enjoy it in Allah's cause, He says they're just a few. They're what? They're just a few. So when you look at the world today, you look at how many people turn away from Allah, how many people are heedless and ignorant and negligent. It may cause you sadness. You may become depressed. You may even have doubts about Islam. Why is most people kuffar? Look at most of the Muslims today. What do? Do they pray on time? Do they fulfill their obligations? Or most Muslims today, they just follow their own cultural Islam. Don't become sad. Don't become depressed. Rather, should be something that makes you happy. Because when you do look at those who are following the deen, those who are practicing the deen, those who are steadfast and upright among so much darkness. And we've explained this before right here in this masjid when we spoke on dream interpretation. About the concept of milk in the dream. And why milk is so symbolic. And why milk represents iman and deen and knowledge. Because where does milk come from? Milk doesn't come from a jar or a bottle. It comes from an animal. What part of the animal does it come from? What is near the milk? Who can get into the milk? Yet still the milk comes out clean, pure and pristine. And similar does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow a person to have knowledge and taqwa and iman among so much darkness. And then to follow that. So don't always look at something in a negative way, but look at it in what? In a positive way. Look, subhanAllah, look at the brother. Look at the sister. Look at the Muslims among the non-Muslims. Look at those who are upon the right path. Alhamdulillah. Instead of constantly looking at things in a what? A negative light. Ibn al-Jawzi rahimahullah, he says, a person can have good health, but he won't have the free time because he's making a living. He's chasing risk, seeking the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a person can have wealth, but he is one who suffers from what? Poor health. He says, so therefore, these people who have good health and free time, and they're still lazy and lethargic, they are truly losers. And say they're low lives. They're pathetic. Allah gave you so much, and you do so little. Allah bless you with so much, and you give what? So little back. Therefore, those who really, or you only see this in full light in the hereafter. In other words, you could be a loser in this life and a loser in the hereafter. You could be a winner in this life and a winner in the hereafter. And you could be a winner in this life and a loser in hereafter. But it's not in full scope. You can only see the true loss and the true gain in this dunya or what? Only in the hereafter. That's when it's totally what? Manifest, 100%. What? 100%. And that is because he says that this life is considered to be a farm. And hereafter is the day of what? Harvest. How much, how long, how hard did you work? Did you sow the seeds properly? Did you have enough water, enough sunlight? Weeds, crows, insects, beetles? Did you look after your crops properly, thoroughly? How many hours out the day did you work? Did you leave when it was dark and go back home and it was what? When it was dark. You've talked to the older brothers, they tell you this. Every day for 30 years, I know older brothers, says for 30 years from South America, from Guyana. 30 years. He says, I worked every day and I never saw the sunlight in my house. I left when it was dark, before Fajr, and got back what? Or Maghrib at least. So therefore, the person who works so hard and has the know-how, has the experience of how to sow the seeds, how to make the crops, how to cut the crops, he's going to get what? When the day of harvest comes, he's going to be what? He's going to be happy. And the one who was lazy, who wanted to sleep, who didn't take the advice, who didn't follow the rules of farming and agriculture, he's going to be a what? He's going to be a loser. And that is the similarity of the what? Of the dunya and the what? And akhirah. So the dunya is considered to be the place to dig, to struggle, to work, to bend your back, to sow your seeds. And hereafter is when you reap, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, the seeds that you had laid down. He then says, so therefore, those who use their good health and their free time in obedience of Allah, he says people they envy them. They envy them. And those who do the opposite, he says, then they are losers. And that is because free time is followed up by being busy, and good health is followed up by being sick. As a poet said, يَسُرُّ الْفَتَى طُولُ السَّلَامَةِ وَالْبَقَاءِ. He says that the young man is happy, and he's pleased by well-being and living for a very long time. He's pleased by this. فَكَيْفَ تَرَى طُولَ السَّلَامَةِ يَفْعَلُ. He says, but what do you think about long life? What do you think about constant well-being? What is it going to do to you? What's going to happen at the end? يَرُدُّ الْفَتَى بَعَدَ اعْتِدَالٍ وَصِحَّةٍ. The strong young man who could stand straight up, who is strong and powerful, يَنُّهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَيُحْمَلُ. It will flip on him. And when he wants to stand up, he has to be what? Carried. When he stands up, he's going to be what? He's going to be carried. He's going to be too weak to do what? To stand up. So if you have a long life, if you're strong for many years, know for sure something is going to spoil that strength and spoil that well-being, no matter what. And this is why death is one of the most hated topics to non-Muslims. They hate speaking about death because death spoils the image of eternal fun and happiness. And we don't want to go too far in that. Al-Muhim, this is the first hadith of the chapter. Today, unfortunately, we had to start late for a few technical difficulties. Bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hopefully next week we can start at 7:30 sharp and cover more hadith. We will stop here before the adhan. If there's any questions on or off the topic, we'll try our best to take them down. And if not, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.